Hello, I'm a gust of wind. This is Into the Toad. The Toad paid me a visit yesterday in a very serene and tranquil Saturday afternoon. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. I could feel it coming on. It's this softening at first, loosening, lightening. And there's a screened in patio at my place, and the sun was coming in these autumn angles and this just crisp, dry air. And it's like an indoor outdoor space, an outdoor rug. It's comfortable. So I went out and started to stretch and see what was happening. And sometimes the toad comes like this. It shows up. At first, it's a little unsettling. I've had it happen in public spaces, and it's easily dismissed if you want it, if you want to. It's not like taking the medicine where you're shot out of a cannon and you don't really have any options. And I think in the beginning I did dismiss it a couple of times. And then at one time it came in the early morning light as I woke up but didn't get out of bed yet. And it was very enjoyable. It's always enjoyable in the end when it's over. Sometimes it's enjoyable the whole time. And I want, since it just happened and it happened in this organic way, I just want to see if I can convey this at any sense of rational thought of what it is. It's this buildup of tension in the body. It becomes a sensation that's forceful. It grows and grows and grows, and you can let it continue to grow. At the exact same time, your thoughts are pulled into it. So the first sense of fear is what is going to happen without the thoughts? Are the thoughts going to stay with me? Do I have to think about what's going to occur? Am I going to experience it with all these words running through my head? And the buildup and the intensity, it it's forceful if you let it. And I did. And and I had some fear. I'm looking, the sun is bright in my eyes, and I can see the sky above the ceremony spot in Colorado at the Toad House where we do the ceremonies. And I can see Eric's face looking down at me. I'm on that prayer mat in that high desert, in that blue sky. And I can feel his presence and letting me know that he's taking me. We're going in, and it's okay, no matter what it is. But I still am holding on to this. Yeah, but my thoughts are still here. Do they Do I disappear? They This is the difference between the psychedelics and the toad. Your thoughts never disappear in psychedelics. You're always You can take some psychedelics and you can walk through town. Uh, you're still here. Whereas when this sensation comes from the toad and the sensation in the body, the physical vibrations that build up and all the muscles start to contract so that my elbows are now trying to squeeze behind my back and my chin is pushing up so high that my neck is exposed in the front all the way and it's like bending me backwards. I had one ceremony years ago where that is how I went in, that being drawn back, and it just kept going. I went into it and it pulled me backwards and it wouldn't stop. It was a slow but powerful force and it snapped me in half. And I had a little bit of that yesterday. It's when the muscles really get into this, the physical part of this, you start to get a sense that you're not really using them normally. When they all kick in chorus, along with this building vibration, you lose control of your body. You relinquish the control that you think you have normally, and it squeezes you. And this is where the healing, I think, occurs at some level. So I got pinned back, pulled back, and I started to roll back and forth. And I could feel everything in my spine and shoulders aligning and strengthening. And the sun's in my eyes, and I'm seeing Eric's face. I'm seeing the sky in Colorado, and I'm still conscious. What is this going to turn into? Am I traveling into this right now? And the breathing starts to get squeezed out of the abdomen. It's uncomfortable at first. It's kind of like a spasm, like at some points it does look like a seizure where it's that much rigidity and the lungs are being squeezed. So everything's an exhale, the whole thing. And the noises come and these guttural sounds. This is the healing happening. And in the medicine, when you take it, you have these sequence of events sometimes, but you have the fear and the anticipation, and I don't know if I don't know what I am. I don't know where I'm going. I don't understand how this is happening. You never understand it. You never get comfortable with it. And then when it's over, you know that it's okay and that you can trust it and you don't have to fight it. As uncomfortable and awkward and scary as it might be, because everything you know is in these thoughts and in this awareness, and then you're looking through these eyes and feeling this body, and that's all that you have. And then this vibration starts to build up and the muscles start to contract with huge force and the body contorts and the air is pushed out of it. And so much that you can't You don't understand how there was that much air in you, but it does force it all out. And there's a great deal of physical pleasure that comes when afterward, when that's done. And then there's not usually, you don't vomit or purge like with actual substances, but there's amount of phlegm or spit. And yesterday I had this taste in my mouth, and I realized in the middle of this rolling around on my back that my mouth had filled up with something that I just had to spit out. And it's a messy process and it's a noisy process, and I don't have a lot of privacy where I'm living. So it might be a conversation point for the neighbors today. I don't know. There were some noises. I don't care. And how you have to understand that this is a physical thing as well as a mental thing as well as a spiritual thing. All three parts are playing a role here. And when you take the medicine, most of the time you are launched into the spirit world. So you don't have a lot of time to be afraid of where you're going. And then there's sometimes there's nothing. And I mean nothing. And when that happens, then you have to return. And there's a lot of health benefits, I think, even from a split second of not being in your body and mind. Just being removed for a second is a reset. It's a it's a small death, but a lot of times after that nothingness, you have an awareness, you return to something, but you're not in your thoughts and you're not in your mind and you're not in your body. You at this point may hear Eric drumming to keep you connected because you now can drift and get lost, and you will. And it might come in waves where there's just all of a sudden there's this intensity, and it might be physical discomfort and fear. And this is when you're in the medicine, and there's no rules anymore. There's just this experience with no weight to it. And that's where I've had my struggles, my wars. And when you get lost in there, you're lost, forever lost. It's not having any semblance of what you are, where you are, planet Earth, human beings. You're in it. And I think some people like Eric make sense of it and they travel through it. Whereas I'm more just being kicked down a hill, I feel like sometimes. And you'll have these hard times, and then you'll have a glimpse of the drum or Eric singing. And it will pull you back or steer you a little bit, and you'll have a sense that maybe you're okay, but it's brief. And then now you have your cognition and you travel deeper, and it's too much. There's nothing to make sense of. Nothing. If you're able to have a thought, you're in the potential for a terrifying experience is right there, because trying to make sense of it, trying to hold a thought, trying to have a comparison or a curiosity or anything like that just brings into sharp relief the fact that you are somewhere else. with the part of you that will never die. This is now you getting in touch with what you are and a little bit of where you're headed, what exists beyond this place, you know. And a lot of things can happen. And in this place, when you're sort of conscious of an ability to have a thought, but unable to touch any rational thing, it's it's a land of confusion, and there might be an ability to just experience beauty if you're in that light, and it is a light. I don't know what else that you can call it. There's an opportunity for that, but that might not be your journey today. You might have to start worrying about things with this little ability that you have a thought, and that might, in these convulsions, transform into a hurricane of fear. And the more the fear builds, the more you realize you can't do anything about it. And you may have an ability to say, well, I can let go. And then you might get stuck in that thought. And who's letting go of what? And it might start laughing at you at this notion that you can let go, that you know what's going on, that you have an ability to do anything, that there's a need to do anything, or that there is a being that's there. You're not a person at this point. You're not a human. So if you can still muster up a thought of, can I let go? Can I surrender? Can I do this? The whole thing collapses on you because there is no you anymore. And now what are you going to do? Try to make sense of this. And the whole time this is occurring, that physical intensity, that vibration has increased to light speed proportions. You cannot explain the forces and the intensity at work here. So trying to explain that you may have an ability to have a thought, it doesn't provide the context that's necessary for this. It's it's the forces of the universe, all of them. Just that's where you are. This is not a gentle place. I mean, it can be if you let it, but that's probably not why you're there. It's medicine, and you may have a thought that you're doing it wrong and that you're not where you need to be. That there's a better way to experience this, but it won't matter. You won't be able to change it, and you won't be able to do it wrong. And the whole notion of you having an opinion on evaluation of your performance just shows that you need more medicine. You're still stuck in this old way. So this may come in waves and you'll hear the music, and you may, at some point, you will find yourself in your body and sense that you're on earth. You may or may not recognize that concept right away. For me, it's usually at the end, I'm hearing the maraca rattle type instrument, and Eric is often swirling it around my chest. And sometimes he's doing it very quickly with a lot of energy and passion to get me in, to let me know where I am. And if I see him at that point, like in this most recent series of ceremonies, for a couple of them, At this point, when I finally was able to see him, it was an explosion of realization. Holy, I'm okay. I see this. I know that there's a thing here. There's something to hold on to. And he was leaning down really close to me, and he was at first saying, "Breathe, breathe, breathe." And I feel like there was waves of things happening, and I don't know how long this lasted, but eventually I see him again, and he's screaming it. Breathe! You're not breathing. And then a slap and a like not a slap him slapping me, just a slap of reality and a exhale. And then an inhale. A short, quick one, but and then a except much more prolonged and deep than I can create right now. And it went on and on. It may have been 5 minutes. By the time I was done that breathing, he had already sat down next to the fire and hung up his tools for the day. And in that breathing, my coalescing began. I began to touch my body and look at it. And I saw the sky. I remembered that I was a human and that I showed up at this place and that I've been here before. And I know why I'm here to take the medicine. And I know that I just survived it somehow. And now, now the emergence happens, which means I am spread eagle on the mat on my back. And love is pouring through me like a river. It's just pure healing and gratitude and vibrance and composure. I am at that point the hawk perched on a branch overlooking the field. I am not bored. I am not anything except what I actually am. And I can start to roll around and move my muscles and stretch my bones and feel this invigoration. And usually around this time, I'll be concerned that I may have to do it again tomorrow. I don't know what, it depends on the scenario and the context, but I may be in for a series of them. And at this moment, that thought will come in. You have to do this tomorrow. And it's an uncomfortable reality. I can't do this ever again. I cannot do this anymore. It's too much. But Eric will usually notice that and say, just breathe. And he may offer some insight. You let go of a lot of shit, my friend. Or that's the deepest you've ever gone into the medicine, my friend. And there's now, you see why people might call this a psychedelic because the world is spread, the world is exposed. The filters have been removed. It's pulsating, it's vibrating. The colors are extremely bright, and everything's alive. Everything. And now nothing really matters. I will still want to think about where I was and what happened. What is this? But I won't have any concern or urgency in any of it because I'm at peace. completely at peace, at ease, among friends. And this is the afterglow, and this is just enjoying being alive and with Eric, who understands that this is where he lives, on this edge of life and death, where life comes alive, where the animals live, where everything in nature lives, except us when we're out in that world. So now the only thing that actually matters is what I take into that world when I return. It doesn't matter in the sense there's consequences, but if I took my medicine, then I will apply what I've learned. I won't have to think about it. I won't have to write it down. I won't have to put a note on the calendar. These things are happening in the higher self. And this last time I told Eric at the end, I'm leaving and there's things I have to do. And I didn't know what they were, but they started to happen. This exercise of talking about and writing about what this is was begun at that moment. I didn't know it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't feel like I had to do something. I just knew something was going to be done. And a couple of other steps I found myself taking, one new experience, and then things just started to flow. It's, I think one of the clearest ways we see the medicine working is in your ability to make a decision. Decision making is, it's a little um dishonest if you really think about it. If you're going to purchase a home or propose marriage or choose a university to go to or big life decisions. Are you going to put your elderly parent into a facility? These types of decisions, the medicine religion, you can't make these decisions. You can't purchase the perfect home for you. There's way too many variables at play here, and that's where the paralysis and the guilt and the anxiety and everything comes from, and why all these people have businesses surrounding. I'm going to help you make this decision, because everyone thinks that they have to make the right one, and they can't. They cannot make the right decision. You can make a decision, and you can adapt and adjust and respond accordingly. And that's how I have seen myself make major life decisions in my life with the medicine. Whereas before, I wouldn't have known what to do. And as soon as I did make a decision, I would have started seeing errors, problems with it. You can adjust your trajectory slightly. That's the best you can do. But making a decision implies that something has been changed now, and this new change is what we're going to have to live with. And it's never that way. It's this ever flowing series of decisions and awareness of details and context and scenarios and situations that you now find yourself in because of several decisions you've made. That decision to propose marriage isn't a decision alone. It's, you know, It's the most recent in 7 million decisions. It's a river of decisions. There's not a lot of need to get hung up on it. You can always respond to situations if you let the situations play out. If you propose marriage and then you find out that this person is not who they said they were, you need to be in a situation to recognize that. And to propose marriage and to fall in love and to know what that love is, that means that you're not really making a lot of decisions at that point either. To really let that play out and let that happen. And this is something I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just a guy who has taken the medicine and wants to talk about it. That's it. I don't really need anybody to get anything from this, and I don't need to get anything from this. I just want to do it. But I am not an expert on it. I'm not an expert on anything else in human life. I think you could just diagnose me as a failure if you look at anything I've done in my life compared to how society rates success and failure. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. And I'm comfortable with being nothing. I used to be a journalist. I used to be a student. I used to be a businessman. I used to be things. But after I started taking the medicine, I became nothing. I'm comfortable with nothing. So this is not preaching because I am not one who should preach, and I don't want to. I just want to pontificate on these magical experiences of my life, going from unhappy to happy. That alone is something to talk about. How does this happen? How does this consciousness, where I have these thoughts, and this consciousness is unhappy, miserable, suffering in the darkness, and then it's pulled into this other place where the medicine takes us, and the muscles start to contract vigorously, and the air is pushed out of the body, and the thoughts are still there, but there's something else happening here. The thoughts aren't it, there's something else. And to get into it, to see it, is dying. To actually allow this other place to be visible, you have to die. And your mind will get creative with how torturous that death will be. And then that consciousness returns to the same place 20 minutes later, the same abilities. I mean, how much can actually have changed? But the darkness is gone. The darkness is sitting in its place. I can see it. I know it. It's not me. It was visiting me, and I pretended that it was me. That was the game I was playing. The game of depression, being suicidal, of being that human who is living in the darkness. It was a decision, not one you can just tell someone, hey, stop deciding to be. I know that as well as anybody can. I was there. I know you can't just think your way out of it. That's why I talk about the medicine. What else can there be? Coming out of the medicine, when you're in the afterglow, the concept of talk therapy will be hysterical to you. This medicine has just reached into the gears and cogs of your soul and lubed everything up. And you feel it in every aspect of your existence. You haven't even felt anything like this before. You can feel your insides vibrating with power and health. And you want me to go take a pill? No, 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 no. This is how humans heal. This is what it feels like. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is how challenging it is. You think about the darkness you're in and how overbearing and overwhelming and life ruining it is. You think some gradual talking and pharmaceuticals are equipped to fight that darkness? When you see the light inside the toad, you will meet the force that is equipped to fight that darkness. And you will lose respect for all the posturing and playing that's happening around you in the name of capitalism. You will be changed. You don't have to tell anybody you're changed. You don't have to talk about it. You will not be able to assign authority to anything else ever again because there is none. There is no force like this. And you just had the courage to show up and meet it and to have to enter into it in that, what am I? What are these thoughts? How do I do this? How do I get through this? How do I survive this? What's going to happen to me? And you go in anyway. And the worst things you were thinking is kind of what happens. Like, it's now the end is so wrapped in beauty and release and love. That's when you see, when you open your eyes and you can see the sky, that's when the love is attainable, identifiable. Now you know. Now you know what we're talking about here, what this energy is. And you don't know how it worked and you don't know why it did what it did to you. And you never will. But if you're fortunate and you're with Eric, and he'll tell you it gave you what you needed, nothing less, nothing more. And you may have to keep going down this road. You may have to keep doing this. If you are inclined toward a peaceful life, toward getting to the root of all of your stuff, because that's really, you're not battling cosmic demons here. It might feel like it, but for me, there was a point when I realized that this was all me. I'm making it difficult. I'm making it scary. I'm getting in the way. And I can't change. I can't realize that and say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. It doesn't, the conscious thought can't fix this. It can only cloud it, make it worse, make it terrible. It can only get in the way until it can't get in the way. And that requires defeat, utter, final defeat. That's where I was in my last ceremonies, which I don't think I'll ever get to like I did yesterday. Just the medicine comes to say hello and to relieve me of a little bit. I have changed my lifestyle. I've changed many things in my life over the course of the last few months. And in that quiet moment yesterday with that autumn sun coming in the window, it was time to take inventory a little bit, time to remind myself that all of this, good or bad, is is not what's actually happening here. Because this place that I just caught a glimpse of, it's still there. It's always there. It's what is. It's where you're headed. Going down that tunnel of what are my thoughts and where am I going and what can happen here? What's going to happen to me? The panic. It's That's where you're going. You have to go there. I don't know, if someone gets their head chopped off, if what that experience is going into this destination, but I know this is the destination. That's probably all I can know. Just knowing that changes your life. You're no longer this weary, helpless creature just stumbling through the world, vulnerable at every turn. That's all that stuff is nonsense. You are supremely powerful, and everything you want is yours. There's no rules, there's no consequences, there's no stakes. Just it's all here, and now you can see it and breathe it and make decisions, which means just doing things. There's no longer you don't need a spreadsheet. You're going to do what is right for you and respond accordingly. This whole life of being in your head, an entire lifetime of the thoughts and the emotions. How many things can you remember where someone hurt your feelings or was rude to you or made you look bad or made you feel small? 10, 20, 30 years later, you can still remember every detail of that incident. You're carrying that right now. All of the beautiful things, there's been millions that you don't carry them. Why? You can. Why is that? That's the first rational thought into what this construct is. When you're in these thoughts and these sensations are coming and you're being pulled into something else. You can't leave the thoughts because that's all you know. And the idea that you still carry these incidents from the past clearly and visibly with all the emotions attached, all the weight attached, that is what you're leaving. And you have to chew through all of them to actually leave. So I don't know if there's a spectrum and if there's, oh, you're done. It doesn't seem like that because it's, again, everything's a river flowing, but there is going to be things to let go of, no matter who you are and no matter where you are. Uh, and the medicine, it knows what to do. You don't have to worry about the amount of things that you're carrying. In fact, it's a very rewarding, pleasant thing to get into because the first time for me was just a couple seconds of complete freak out and then white out, just whiteness and nothing until I returned to my body feeling good. Like, holy cow, what happened? But, that's how it handled me when I was carrying so much I couldn't even walk with my back straight. And that's the nature of it because when you're coming out and you're breathing, you can sense its nature. You can feel the reason of why it had to do this to you or you had to do it to yourself. Here's the healing. There's the operation. Here's the healing. There's the medicine. Here's the patient. That sense of benevolence is one of the greatest gifts that I've received. And I think it is the greatest gift that I've ever received in my existence because the more difficult it gets to understand anything. Once you take this trip, I can remember walking the streets in Mexico after a ceremony for weeks with this realization that this entire sky in front of me could drop. It's a curtain and it could just drop and take me back into where I was at any moment. And if someone would have come and put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger, I think that's what would have happened. And I go back in. When you have that in your life, it's not a memory, it's part of your soul. And you will never have this assurance and conviction about the state of things, about your reality ever again. You can't. You won't be able to trust it because it's temporary. That's a fact. You will leave it. So how permanent can it be? I don't care if it's the Rocky Mountains or New York City or whatever. It is not I mean, it is not permanent. It is temporary. And you will have that in you. Okay, well now what? What can I hold on to? Well, not much, except this little glimmer, this little sense of its nature, of its benevolence. Oh, I can trust that it's all okay, that I'm not in charge of it. Thank God. And it's all okay. That is enough. That's religion. That's what it is. Except you're creating one. You're not being told one. You're not being taught. You are creating a religion for yourself. Once you can do that, you can survive the rigors when that tunnel appears. And you have to be pulled in, not knowing what's going to happen to your little thoughts and your sense of self and you, whatever the thing you think you are right now, it's all going to change forever. And that's okay. That's maybe that's what I am, is something that can change forever. Maybe that's what I've been this whole time. Maybe, maybe it feels good to not have to hold on. Maybe every data point in your physiology improves, every single one, when you accept that you can't hold on. I believe that's what's happened for me and why this is the focal point of my life. Find your own religion just for you, not to create an empire and have multiple wives or abuse children and get rich. Like, no, none of that. It's just this precious knowledge that belongs to you and that it's so cosmic, you can't even tell anybody about it. There's no way. But it empowers you and it lets you keep your chin up and go through the slings and arrows of this world. It's okay. Injustice, it's okay. Maybe you've been wronged and persecuted. Maybe they stole your money. Maybe they hurt you. Maybe they did. Maybe they will. That's not really that significant. I mean, it can be significant because you might be the person that can go through that injustice and keep your head up, keep your chin up. And all of a sudden, there's all these other people saying, well, why isn't he complaining and whining about the injustice? What's he got? And all you have to say is, I've been in the toad. I saw it. I try to engineer comfort and success in this world as best I can, but I know that this world is not about any kind of logic once the humans are involved in power control and hoarding resources and hurting each other and taking from each other and being afraid, being weak, being a predator. That's all going on. It's a big circus of that. You don't have to be the whipping boy in that circus. You can choose any role you want, or you can kind of go to the edge of it, which is what I do. I pay my bills. I don't break the law. Not because I respect the law. I just don't want to get pulled into the morass of this circus that chews people up. But if I do, then I will have to listen to myself and keep my chin up and accept it. Just the way I accept that the nature of this life and this death comes from love. It's okay. It's intense. It's powerful. It's scary. It's painful. It's beautiful. It's rewarding. It's delicious. All those things are true. And to get into where you have to get into, I mean, imagine I saw a picture the other day of a Bengal tiger in India having taken down a Gar bull, which is like this big water buffalo type bison creature, this massive horned animal, thousands of pounds. Tigers hunt solo, alone, and it had taken down this gigantic beast. And both of these animals were advanced juveniles. They were not young, and they were not the leaders, the elders. And it may have been the first real battle for each of them. And the tiger won. And after he killed it, he sat there and catching his breath and looking at it. And that's what the photo showed. And I wonder what that tiger's feeling in that moment. He just had this battle, which, from what I understand, you can roll the dice. If that animal goes after one of those animals, tiger goes after the Gore bull, you can flip a coin. Nobody knows who's going to win that. That's the level of survival and adventure that's occurring there. Both of those creatures have to be in that energy to be there. And it's a fight to the death. There, if you want to feel alive, then you need to accept the fact that you are capable of allowing the energy that that tiger's allowing, that you are capable of the courage and determination that was in that bull. You're going to fight back, win or lose. You're fighting. That's, I mean, if you really want to boil it down, it's all energy. There is nothing else but energy. And no, science cannot tell us what energy is, which should be the first hint that science hasn't really solved any big mysteries here. Yeah, they gave us air conditioning and electric cars. I understand that. But when we're talking about the big questions, science doesn't have really a seat to sit in here. They can't get past step one. So it's an inward. There's no science, there's no audience, there's no analysis, charts and graphs. It's just you. And you're pulled into this place where this energy is. And it's always there. You've blocked it out strategically with great creativity and energy and effort. And all of your dysfunction comes from your fighting off this energy, which is something that tiger and that bull wouldn't understand. They don't have those moments of doubt. They don't have that kind of fear. They have the kind of fear that gets a response, an actual response. A tiger's trying to kill me. I'm going to respond. And after that battle was over and that tiger just sat there looking at his kill, what was he feeling? Was there pride, relief, exhilaration? What type of sensations are available to us in this energy? The orgasm is the only thing that we can all point to as adults and say, "Oh, that's the greatest feeling," or whatever. That it does not compare. As great as it is, great. I agree. It does not compare to the sensations that can occur in this energy. And unfortunately, to tap into it, to experience it, to feel it, you got to drop everything. And I think that is the muscles contracting in the beginning, the spasms occurring in the air getting pushed out of the diaphragm, and the neck being pulled back, and the mind trying to make sense of it. I can't do this. Where am I going? What is going to happen to me? To me! All that has got to go. So when you feel that, yeah, you're going on a ride here. Bad news, it can be difficult. Good news, it's very rewarding and it has to happen. It's going to happen today or it's going to happen at your death. It's going to you have to let go of these things. There's not some magical thing where you just push a button and death is there. I don't even think even if you blow your head off, this mind and spirit are still taking this journey. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. I have a sense that the nature of life and death itself is love and that we're equipped for this battle and that this battle is why we're here. It's we're allowed to enjoy this. That tiger is living its life. That bull lived its life. But they're both going to the same place that we are. They both have this battle. And I think the animals, there will be a day when our ideology is reversed and the respect and admiration will be directed at the natural world the way it is directed at science and intellect today and technology. We won't worship ourselves anymore. We will worship the natural world around us, just like most civilizations have over the course of history, because, I mean, the conceit, the hubris, oh, let's worship ourselves. When did that begin? Where do we think it's going to go? The natural world, it's all there. We're not separate from it. Everything else is living in this energy. That's how all this stuff is happening, this beauty around us. And you can't explain it by talking about calories and proteins. That doesn't explain an orca leaping 20 feet out of the water. It doesn't explain it. It doesn't explain a humpback whale leaping out of the ocean. A whale. I know there's a formula to tell me how much force is required in that, but I don't believe that you understand it. I don't care who you are. The forces at work here. I mean, I've seen they have video of snow leopards now in the Himalayas, one of the hardest animals to capture on film, and they caught an entire chase, and it's It's chasing, I believe it's a type of mountain goat. They fall thousands of feet down the rocky mountainside and keep fighting. There isn't an explanation for how any of those animals, either of those animals survived either any of those drops. And in the end, the snow leopard wins and eats his meal. Like, it's impossible. People have fallen out of planes without parachutes and landed and survived, and we have science telling us, oh, it was this and that and blah blah blah. It happened. Okay, it's magic. It really is magic. You're magic. The whole thing that's happening is magic, and that's why it's so hard to get into it because you don't believe it. You're already saying no, it isn't, and it is. And you're those thoughts that try to clamp down as this sensation approaches are an indication of how different reality is from what you want to believe it is. You have convictions. They are wrong. They are wrong. I know that because the only conviction I have left is the nature of this life. I can't know anything else, but I believe it's okay. That is what I am. So I will have to accept that. Like yesterday, there was a lot of fear. There I am with the experiences I have in a safe, comfortable place. Nothing can really happen. And I'm still holding on. As much as I talk, my thoughts don't want to let go either. But I have a sense that I can keep going. It will get difficult and I can keep going. It might get worse and I can keep going. And the rewards keep you coming back. The rewards, it's impossible to explain the vitality that comes from this experience. It's, the phrase born again is so misused and abused. I don't want to use it. It's a hard reboot. Everything's brand new. Everything. We don't know what we're capable of. We don't know the healing power of ourselves. We don't know our potential. We don't know the interworkings of this world. We don't know anything. And that's okay, except for the fact that we're walking around pretending we know everything. It's a big disconnect there, which is where the resistance and all the drama is happening. And you can have drama, you can live in that. There's no punishment except you know, the suffering that you're in. That's okay too. I don't think you can avoid suffering. I think, I mean, the Hindus say you're striving for this to be the angel, the successful being in the universe, but it's a wheel. And when you get there, there's no, you don't stay anywhere. You have to go back through the suffering again. Purgatorial worlds, the angry worlds, the worlds of injustice. So you can even let go of that notion that you're going to achieve something and everything will be fixed. It's the clarity that is the reward that lets us carry on and say, okay, well, today I feel good. Today the sun is out, the leaves are changing. That's it. I mean, that's it. It's enough. It's really enough. The yesterdays and tomorrows, they take a back seat, which is where they belong. I don't know what that tunnel is. What's happening when we get into it? Why it's hard, how it works. I believe it's that there's a barrier between us and that world, and that the barrier is us. It's self-imposed. Maybe for a reason. Maybe if you remove that barrier, you end up on a mountaintop by yourself in the lotus position, and you no longer interact with society. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just a natural progression of us trying to stay civilized and not kill each other, because we're still killing each other, but we're probably doing a little less than we used to. As bad as things are, some people get to live entire lives without a terrible amount of torture and injustice. That's true. But it's the ignorance of those lives, the disillusion, I mean, the delusion of those lives that's really sticks with me. That that's not enough. I can't allow that. If there's a membrane between me and where I'm going when I die and what is actually powering this parade of beauty around me, I want to know that. I want to feel that. And when you get a glimpse of it, the feeling becomes everything. That's why it's hard to go into that tunnel with the panic building, because you're feeling it. It's real, but it's the first step to the emergence, to the flowing love that just pours over you as you breathe. That's worth it. And when you have that just once, how you feel becomes what you are. There isn't a deeper answer to the question of how are you, except how you're feeling, because the feeling is primary. It precludes everything else, especially when you see that it has maneuverability, that you can recognize a default feeling of love and joy. That's where you are. And then the feelings adjust and respond accordingly to your circumstance. So, all things settled, you return to the love and joy. That's valuable knowledge. That helps. That will somewhat keep you marching forward when that tunnel appears and the thoughts start to get pulled into the unknown, and you find yourself asking the question, what is going to happen to me?